Okay, good morning, people. So, just to revise last bit, we had started how the five kingdom classification came into picture. Again, just for general information, this is another video of Carl Linus, which I was talking about, where his work is being explained really in detail. I'm not going to show it in the class. You can watch it later on your own. For these people, I will show it later. Then there is another one which is about the scientific racism. Now this particular concept is not a part of syllabus at all, but it is just a very nice thing to know that how the racism is scientifically proven that it is correct. Like I'm assuming that every one of you knows what racism is, right? So, and like from the scientific perspective, we know there are different categories of human being itself, and how that is required as a classification, and that has been proven with the help of science. And this started all with this Carl Linnaeus, and that is what is given in this video. So again, you can watch on this video if you are interested in. I found it very interesting, so I have kept it here as a part of the slide, but you can watch it on your own if at all you are interested. Okay, so now we will start a little new topic in whole of this five kingdom classification, which is called as species. Now I'm again assuming that you would know a definition, the information about these species, but definition we need to write sometimes, and that is what we will explain it on this particular slide. So species is generally defined as a group of organisms that consist of similar individuals and similar individual with respect to the capability of interbreeding or exchanging genes among themselves. So ultimately, a particular species, when it is able to reproduce a new generation with the same species individual, that is what whole group of that organism is called as species. Like simplest example is a monkey and a chimpanzee. They can't reproduce together, right? So that means these two are two different species. There is interbreeding possible between some of the species, which we'll see later, but in general the reproduction happens within the same species or within one species and different individuals of that species. So that particular group of organism is called as species. And in biology, species is considered as one of the most basic unit of classification. Now, why do we have to even mention this? The reason being, when we are going to look at the hierarchical classification of the kingdoms, species will come at the bottommost part, right? Kingdom will be on the top. Then if you categorize into different groups, so the last point or the last category that you will get is species. And it is one of the taxonomic rank. Taxonomy, we will see what taxonomy is and also what taxonomic rank is a little further. So as of now, you can just skip this one. And the next taxonomic rank or next category within the hierarchy, which is above the species, is genus. Now, we will be talking a lot about a genus and a species because we know that Homo sapien, that is the scientific name or biological name of human being, that has a genus which is Homo and a species which is sapiens. So that way, a particular individual organism will always have a genus name and a species name. Like even for example, yesterday I had a mention of this fruit fly, Drosophila melanogaster, right? Drosophila is the genus name and melanogaster is the species name. Or this garden pea plant, like mutter, that you commonly know as. Its name is, what is it? Pisum sativum. Pisum is again the genus and second name that is the species. So again, like every scientific or biological name for an individual plant or organism will have genus and species included in its name. So that way, these genus and species, they are the most important part of this taxonomic classification. Now, on the earth, there are approximately 8.7 million species, approximately, right? And this these many number of species is hardly a fraction of the species that have been living on the earth since its inception. That means since the earth was born, from that time till now, this 8.7 million number is just a fraction of the total number. So you can imagine how many species they were present earlier and now they are extinct due to certain reasons. Either like nowadays there are quite a few species, they are getting extinct as well due to human intervention. But earlier, what was that dinosaur when they got lost from the earth? Anyone remembers what was the name? Dinosaur.
Due to the volcanoes, right?
Sorry?
It was due to the volcanoes.
There were three different ages.
Which era? So
Jurassic, then
Jurassic. No, first it was Cretaceous. In the Cretaceous.
first,
but then there is this specific no,
Sir, what do you mean by loss?
extinct, I mean extinct.
oh, do you mean the last era?
It's the Cretaceous period, or what? There is a terminology for that event which happened. I don't know, like yesterday also I was trying to remember it. Here it should be. Not there.
So you mean the meteor or like?
No, no, here it should be. Not there at all. So these, yeah, Cambian, no, I can't see it. No, these are still different species. No, what you know is of the period. So I am talking of the timeline.
Okay.
Timeline of Earth and dinosaurs. Let me just randomly put some. It's okay. I'm not worried about this. Yeah, here it is. Cambrian thing. Wait, let me show you a better image. Not this one. So, again, the same worst diagram. It's not there. Yes. Okay. So, Cambrian explosion, it is called. Yeah, Cambrian explosion. So this Cambrian explosion is the one where all the dinosaurs, they were lost, right? The reasons they are predicted differently by different theories, but see, you can clearly see is the Cambrian explosion or the Cambrian radiation was an event approximately these many millions of years ago, and practically all the major animal phyla started appearing in the fossil record, right? That means all of these they were extinct or they went extinct during this Cambrian explosion, and that is what is one of the important reason that most of the species that were existent already, they are no more existing. And also there are quite a few theories which talks about why the dinosaurs were so huge, or even the other animal species, they were so huge. The reason being the oxygen was quite a lot, like compared to what it is now. The level of oxygen around the atmosphere or within the atmosphere of the earth was quite a lot. So that is when everything was a giant structure. Now the oxygen is kind of reducing over the thousands of time or thousands of years of time, and that is when the size of the organism is also reducing over the time. So that is just a general explanation. But the point I want to make here is like the number of species that currently surviving on the earth is much lesser, like hardly a tiny fraction of the total number of organisms that have been living on the earth surface. So now these two concepts, genus and species, they are coming or they have been in use since the time of Aristotle. That is like even some BC era, right? And he used the term genus, which meant of a particular kind, right? For example, fish was a genus at that time, and eidos or eidos, that was a specific form. Like for example, from the fish category, tuna or sardine, these are the names of the fishes. I am sure everyone must have a tuna fish, but these two are the specific type of fishes. So that is what was the genus and eidos. So that these were the terminologies which were used earlier, and these terms they eventually got translated into Latin, becoming genus and species. So the etymology of these two words is coming from the Latin translation of the earlier usage of these words. And though they do not like directly correspond to the terms in the lenient taxonomy. Lenient taxonomy means Carl Linnaeus had given certain categories, so it does not fall under those categories. He had totally probably, let's say, ignored those two classes, and he had created his own kingdoms of classification. So that is a brief description of what a species is. Now this is what I was talking about. Like I mentioned about that there are species which the definition of the species itself says that the reproduction has to happen between the organisms which are similar or closely related, and it cannot happen between like a bird and an animal, or interbreeding or crossbreeding. So there are these specific species which exist currently, but they are not able to reproduce. All these species that we know of, they are sterile. Sterile means they cannot reproduce. For example, zenki, which is a combination of zebra and donkey. So that is when if you see this, the upper body is of the donkey and the zebra like pattern on the leg. So this is the combination of zebra and donkey. Then there is tiger with the female lion will produce tiger, and a lion with female tiger will produce liger. So these are the two images of it, right? This is the lion male, tiger female, and then you will get what you get as an byproduct or the offspring is the liger, and tiger being male and lion being female, they will get tigon as the male. So that way there are again quite a few like this, but these offsprings which are produced, or these next generation which is produced, is what we say, it's not reproductive, not being able to reproduce. Yes, Nilofer and Hia.
Yeah, sir. So why would they mate in the first place?
It's not, see, I don't know why it was made, but I would assume it was probably even natural course of action, interbreeding, or secondly, someone might have tried it for the experimental purpose. So that these two reasons that I can think of, but I don't know if there is any other reason that exists. Here.
Yeah, my question got answered.
Okay. So means I would simply assume that it does exist in nature, that interbreeding does happen. Like even in case of human also, nowadays interracial marriages they are happening, right? And it is a good thing, something like that. Though we are all one species, but still that is one example which is analogous to these things, or may not be completely analogous, I must say, because still human race is one race, and zebra and donkey, they totally fall in different species altogether. But yeah, all of these like again this jeep, goat and sheep, and this is the offspring that we get. The body is like a sheep and the face or the head portion is like a goat. So that is jeep. And pomato, everyone would have heard of this probably, which is a mixture of potato and tomato. So in the soil you get potatoes, and the plant above you get the tomatoes. So within one same plant you get both of these things. Yes, here.
Yeah, sir, I had a question. But if the like after the cross species breeding, if the product is sterile, then why will it occur naturally?
Why will it be natural? That is what is the question.
No, sir, I'm saying that um, reproduction is that so that you can pass on the genes. So, but then if the final product is sterile, then what is the point of the inbreeding? That happens naturally.
And so plus donkeys are domestic and zebras are, in the case of donkeys and zebras, donkeys are domestic and zebras are wild.
Hmm. So I forgot what was the question. Is it related to this or a different question? Because I haven't answered her question. Sorry, I missed here. What was the question? I lost it.
My question was that since the entire reproduction, the aim of reproduction is to pass on your genes, right? So, what is the point if the product is sterile? Then why will it occur naturally?
So that can be answered only based on the theories. Practical knowledge, I don't think any of us would have it. So what I know of from the theoretical perspective is, even though these organisms are sterile, which are being produced in new generation, the sexual intercourse is not a means of reproduction anymore. It has become a means of pleasure. Like from human being itself, we know it. So it is not the means of reproduction anymore. And it could be true with some of these organisms that we don't know of. At least I don't know of, I must say. And the point that you are mentioning, that though what is the point, even like if they are sterile, what is the point of reproducing? So that can be one of the cause of the natural course, right? Not every species has to reproduce every now and then. That is what we call it as a natural selection or laws of adaptation on the earth. There are so many things. Like again, another example related to this, like this pandemic could be the course of nature's action, right? That certain amount of individuals needs to die from this earth so that the earth is more and more stabilized. We never know if that is the in longer run. Like we live only for less than like 70-80 years or around 100 years, let's say, for example, approximately. Now what happens over the course of tens of thousands of years, we don't know. We can only predict it from based on the history and what could happen probably in the future, right? So in that aspect, these are very, very long term studies, and we don't know what will be the implications of this. So as of now, only theoretical answers we will have for the question that you have raised. It's a right question though. Okay, here.
Yes.
Hmm.
So why can't the tomato
Why can't the tomato? So, okay, one of the reason why these animals, they don't reproduce,
Oh, it's a tomato
huh,
specific.
is specific to tomato also, is the first reason could be that the number of chromosome between two species, they could be different. Like a tomato and potato, if the number of chromosomes are different, and when they multiply together or when they kind of cross fertilize with each other together, the pairs, they don't match, right? So when the meiosis happens, that is the gamete formation, that is faulty, and that is when the next generation cannot be produced, right? Same is the case with these other species as well. And even if their chromosomes number is matching, they may not match in their size, because size in this shape, because when the meiosis process happens, that is the gamete formation, like human we call it sperm formation, and female we call it egg or ova formation. So during these processes, the chromosome number has to be exactly double, and then they will separate into half, and then they will further separate into 1/4. So that way, from one single cell, 4 gametes are formed. In these cases, if the chromosome number is different, surely these 4 gametes will have different possibilities. Secondly, if the chromosome shapes are not matching with each other, their allocation or their distribution into the gametes, or what we call again as sperm and ova, will not be proper. And due to that, the newly generated newly generated organism may not have the reproductive ability. So that is the general law of these genetics. Any other questions? Okay, does anyone have any other question? Okay, so that is all about these species. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier, that we will talk about the taxonomy. So usually this word taxonomy is derived from this Greek word, which is called as taxis. It means arrangement or a division, right? Or grouping in a way, right? And nomi, or that nomos, is method. So that means which method is being used for specific arrangement or specific division of these animal groupings or living organism groupings. That is what is known as taxonomy. So in definition, taxonomy is the branch of biology that refers to the process of classifying different living species. Simple. It is just the simpler process of classifying different living organisms. And that is what is the word taxonomy also means, which is a Greek word. Now, this is like a kind of history of the word. Now, taxon is referred to as a group of organism which is classified as a unit. So in taxonomy, let me show you this diagram. So this rainbow pyramid, it's not rainbow always, you can draw it in any colors, but I like this, so I kept it here. It's on this Byju's website. So yeah. Huh? What? I can't get you people any which ways. So these are different taxon. This way of classifying a living organism into these category is taxonomy, and this individual category will be called as taxon. So a taxon is referred to as a group of organism classified as one unit, right? One unit in this classification is species is one unit, genus is one unit, family is one unit. That means one particular category. That is taxon. And taxonomic hierarchy is the process of arranging various organisms into successive levels of biological classification. So like I had mentioned, from kingdom, you go on sub-classifying a further organism, and then from kingdom you reach to phylum, then you reach class, order, family, genus, species. So that is what is one way of one way to look at these different categories, and that is what is the taxonomic hierarchy, either in decreasing or increasing order, that does not matter, but it's always like usually when we classify, we start with the kingdom, because like if you look at a human being, you can classify that as the biggest or the higher category as human, sorry, not human, animal, right? And then you go to phyla, then you go to class, then you go to order, family, genus, and then species. Genus and species we know of is the Homo is the genus, species is the sapien. So that way you go on classifying for each category, there will be a specific name, and that will be the group of those closely related organisms. So that is what is taxonomic hierarchy. Now, each of this level of the hierarchy is called as taxonomic category or taxonomic rank, which ultimately means a taxon. It is the same thing. So taxon is just we say if we have to measure the length, we say a particular centimeter or meter, that is the unit. But then when we call specifically that, okay, it's something is 100 meters or 100 centimeter, that becomes like taxonomic category or rank, right? So taxon and taxonomic category are relatively similar terminology. So a particular class will be called as a taxonomic rank, and taxon is that unit, right? So that means here a kingdom, phylum, class, order, all these are taxonomic ranks, and individually this is one unit, this is other unit, this is third unit, and so on. So that is what is the difference between these two. So originally there are these quite a few different classes. So after kingdom, that is the highest, it is followed by division, class, order, family, genus, and species. Now I forgot to put that here. Let me show you one thing, because that is very helpful for you people to remember all these categories. So taxonomic hierarchy, what is that called? Acronym? No, yeah, I guess acronym only. Yeah, you can see here, dear King Philip came over for good soup, right? So if this is the, let me open it up, where is it? So I will tell you everything. So so there are so many such statements there, you can find it out. It's the domain, right? Then kingdom, phylum, dear King Philip, came over, class, order, family, for, genus, good, and species, soup. Variety no one uses these days, not really, because that is already included in the species itself. So you know, this is the good way to remember this whole of this statement. Let me just copy paste and put it in this slide so you can have a look at it. Yeah, so hello, what happened? Yeah, okay, here it is. Yeah, so you can remember the sequence, which is the highest. Domain we haven't studied as such. I will tell you what domain is. Domain is a bigger domain, like whole of the living things, that is one domain, and that is above the kingdom. That is all the living organisms, including your plant, animals, fungi, bacteria, and so on. They are a part of a domain, and this domain was earlier used. Now like again, not many people uses, they start from the kingdom and so on. So domain was that one umbrella under which whole of the living things they were put into. So there was also again I need to show you this three domain that existed earlier. Three domain, no, what am I doing? Domain system. So this was we had seen this part, this diagram. So these were the three domains that were used earlier, that is bacteria, archaea, and eukaryote. So after the two kingdom classification, then it went on to bacteria, archaea, and eukaryotes. And then it was again further subclassified because fungi did not fit into one of the category. Then they went into 4 domain category. Then from 4 domain, it went to 5 domain category, and then it came to finally the 5 kingdom classification. So that is the story of whole of this. Does anyone have any question here so far? People have only asked. Yes, Prakriti.
Yeah, sir. So you said earlier there were three. So one of them is eukaryota. So like there are two kinds of cells, right? Prokaryotic and eukaryotic. So is that also like a domain now, or?
Now you mean?
Yeah, I mean the words that are used, are they trying to prove that it's like two different, like what category is that?
So
Eukaryotic and prokaryotic.
So no protesta, we can you carry it.
So if we look at the hierarchy, so okay, I don't know. Let me just show you here. Open new tab. So earlier, if you look at all these categories, so bacteria and archaea, they were put into same category earlier because they were unicellular organisms, right? So that was two domain. So that was unicellular and multicellular. But then later on, it was realized that these are prokaryotic, these ones are eukaryotic. So it became bacteria, archaea, and eukaryote. Now within animal, then it was further realized that there are plants, right? There are algae, and then there are fungi, which are distinctly different from each other. So from this eukaryota, the separate three branches came out, that is plant, animalia, and the which one? Fungi. Yeah, these three categories, they became separate. So earlier they were considered as one category, then they separated somehow based on the prokaryote, eukaryote, and that is what we know here as Monera, Protista, and then three of these: fungi, animalia, and the plantae category. Okay, does that answer your question, Prakriti?
Yeah, sir.
Okay. We did not talk of these domains and stuff because that is not in the syllabus, and it becomes too much to understand all of this, and again that 5 kingdom classification. So that's why I have skipped it totally. Okay. So I hope you all will remember this particular what the hierarchy. So what you have to remember is King Philip came over for good soup, right? So that's very simple to remember. So then you don't have to struggle like which comes first, which comes second, and so on. So if you just remember this statement, it should be good enough. And then we will talk about individually one by one of all of this. So we will just do few and then we will stop for today. So kingdom, we know it is the, thank you. It is the highest level of classification, which is divided into subgroups at various levels. So the 5 kingdoms that we know of is Animalia, Plantae, Fungi, Protista, Monera. So that's the basic introduction of the kingdom. Like if you want to go into detail, there is quite a lot of information why the kingdoms are created like this, and then what exactly are the characteristics of each kingdom, and then so on. But as of now, we will skip all of that information. We will just know what kingdom is and so on. Then phylum. Phylum is the next category of the kingdom. So each kingdom will be divided into certain phylum. So for example, there are 35 phylums in the kingdom Animalia. So within animal category itself or animal kingdom itself, there are 35 subdivisions. And the examples of like chordata, you would know, the ones which have vertebral column, or the notochord, it is called as, right? That is chordata. Porifera, I'm not sure if you have heard it, but we will see this category. Orthopoda is all your insect type of category, right? That is orthopoda. So that way there are almost within the animal category 35 subphyla, and that is what is the phylum part. Then class. Class was the most general rank of the taxonomic hierarchy, most generally in the sense that like until the phyla they were not introduced. So earlier again, this is the evolved one and the current one. After kingdom, that there was directly the class. So kingdom Animalia includes 108 classes, which includes your Mammalia category. You know, all mammals, they are included in this category. Reptilia, this means all the reptiles. Aves, these are all the birds. So this is how the classes they are being defined. So now if we say we have to classify the human being for these three categories, obviously we know for kingdom, for human is Animalia. Phylum will be Chordata because we have a notochord or we have a vertebral column. Then class is the Mammalia. So for human organism, these are the kingdom, phyla, and the class. And these classes that are used today, they are different from those which are proposed by the Linnaeus. They are not the same, and the ones they are not really used that frequently because again there can be some overlap between two categories at times. Yes, Prakriti.
So what is aves? It says 108 classes including mammalia and all, reptilia and aves.
What do you think?
Oh.
Yeah, so aves is all the birds, they are included into aves category. So another thing I would like to show would be this one, kingdom Animalia classification chart. Let me see if I get it. No, not this one. Will be okay, this we can't really see. But anyway, I guess I'll do one thing. I'll just post a picture of this because it will be very difficult to see it here. Because there are too many subclasses of individual organism, and that is why it may not be so good idea to watch it here. Anyway, I will show that particular picture later, or I'll share it in the Google Classroom. So like I said, this Mammalia is the mammal category, those who have mammary glands and they give birth to the newborn babies. Reptilia, which are the reptiles. Aves, all the birds. So these are the three classes from the kingdom Animalia, and only three, and there are total almost 108. Then the next one is the order. So after class, the smaller taxonomic rank is order, is more specific than class. The order constitutes one or more than one similar families, because that is the subcategory of it. And there are around 26 orders in the class Mammalia, includes primate, carnivora, and so on. Now again, when we are looking at the human classification, we called it as from the kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, class, where was it? Mammalia, and order primates, right? So that is the human order. Then family, it is again a lower level of the or lower taxonomic rank to the order. So that is family, and they share quite a few similarities more than the order. And the examples of families in the order of the carnivora includes Canidae, Felidae, and Ursidae. Canidae, I know, is all the canine, like a dog family, right? Felidae, I'm not sure what is the Felidae, I forgot. Felidae, I guess this should be the cattle ones. Oh yeah, all this is Felidae family. Your wild animals, wild cat type of animals. Yeah, yeah. And then
Oh, right. So then that's also good. Yeah.
and this is the Ursidae family, all the bears.
So what a rodent.
Huh? Rodents. Rodents, this is like rat and stuff. Which category? Rodents is a category. Yeah, name itself is rodents. Because rodents is one group of organisms. What purple ones? That's a special rodent. Okay, fine. Reptilia. Family, we have to look at the individual classification. Which snake are we talking about? Right? Like for example, colubrid, that is one family. Venomous and non-venomous. There are several such types. Okay. So that is family, and the last two, that is the genus and species. So group of similar species will form a genus, and some of them, they are known to have a monotypic as in some genera they have only one species. That means, like for example, if within the Homo genus, if we would have in the only species, that is Homo sapiens, that will be called as monotypic. But we know there is Homo neanderthalensis, Homo erectus, and so on, and we are Homo sapiens. So within one genus, we are not monotypic, rather we are polytypic. That means there are within one genus, there are many subspecies. So some will have more than one species, that is what is polytypic. Example, lion and tiger, they are placed under the genus Panthera. So I guess the tiger name is Panthera tigris or something. I don't remember all the names now.
It's Panthera tigris.
Okay, then correct. So, so that way, these they are placed under the same genus. But when we talk of the species, they will be like lion will have something. What is lion then? Anyone knows? Panthera, tigris, and onca. Is it?
Probably Leo.
And yeah, Leo.
Leo maybe. Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah. So that way, these names can be different. And the species, it is the lowermost taxonomic rank in the hierarchy. And like we said earlier, there are almost 8.7 million species on the earth. They usually they are classified due to the similarity in the shape, form, reproductive ability, and so on. And species can be further classified into subspecies. Like for example, earlier Homo sapiens, they were considered as Homo sapiens sapiens, or even the Neanderthalensis, they were called as Homo sapien Neanderthals, or that way the subspecies was given. But now that classification is being merged with, like subspecies, they are being merged with the species itself, and they are created as a new species itself. So that is what is happening currently with most of the species.
Sir, so we are Homo sapiens sapiens, right?
Sorry?
So we are Homo sapiens sapiens.
Yeah, but then that classification is not being used currently. We only say Homo sapiens. That was the variety. That is what we are not actually going to. Maybe in the next class, I will introduce a bit about a variety, which is a subcategory of species further. But yeah, as of now, let me stop here. Does anyone have any question?
Sir, for the genus, what would you call the
Panthera. Oh, you mean the panther?
panther within the
I'm not too sure of the names. See,
It's panther.
it's panther or
Panthera, panther.
Yeah, it's something like that.
no, even black panther is the same thing because it's just the melanin, yeah. Melanin, we have that and
But I think it's Panthera only.
Yeah, quite possibly. So there are quite a few species which has these kind of names, like same name repeating.